Okay. It was a game that should have been more predictable. And a lot of people not sure they saw this one coming per se. Um, I think I talked to you guys on Friday when we did the hangout, the ATL hangout that we do with John Chuckery and Jarvis Davis. There was a lot of different ways that I could see this game unfolding, and this was certainly one of them. It was a perfect start. Other than the fumble early on for Georgia, it was a perfect start. They put Tennessee down by 11 points early, and what happens every time when you are a team that scores as easily as Tennessee has all year long, and your first four drives are 6 plays, field goal, you only had to go 17 yards. 5 plays, 16 yards. 3 plays, no yards. 4 plays, 16 yards. Guess what? And you've given up 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in that span. Yeah, you panic. You start throwing the ball all over the place. And that's exactly what Josh Heupel did. He panicked. Knew he couldn't run on Georgia. Knew he couldn't win the game that way. So he sent Hendon Hooker to the slaughter, and he got slaughtered. He got sacked 6 times. But Georgia asserts themselves as the best team in the land. They should end up with the number one ranking this week. No ifs, ands, or buts, especially considering Ohio State struggled mightily with Northwestern. And Georgia, you could argue, probably has the two best wins in the country right now, beating Oregon and beating Tennessee. I think that's fair. I don't know a team that has two better wins than a number one team and the team now that's going to be inside the top five, if not top four, of the college football playoff rankings when it's done in Oregon. So Georgia should be the number one team in the land when it's all said and done. And for all of the bluster about Tennessee's offense, Georgia once again proves a very simple fact that good defenses will shut down good offenses, and scheme matters. Um, you have to figure out a way to play defense. I've been telling you guys for weeks that Tennessee is going to get got because of that pass defense. They got on both fronts. They got because their offense couldn't do anything, but they also got because, their pass defense was terrible. They gave up 387 yards. And Georgia, who's very good with the ball and time possession, didn't even need to possess it that long. 31-29 was the final time possession for Georgia. So Georgia didn't exactly run the ball very well, but they were just super, super effective every time they touched the ball. Again, Georgia went 5 plays, 80 yards. They had that one play for a 37-yard touchdown, but 6 plays, 64 yards. Georgia goes 12 plays, 78 yards. Like the Kirby Smart death march, 15 plays, 67 yards to start the second half. I mean, and the other thing you're doing to a bad defense there is just wearing them down. It's just wearing them down. That's all you're doing. Yeah, you keep that defense out on the field that long. By the fourth quarter, those guys are exhausted. Georgia is methodical. They are deliberate, and they are extremely well coached, and they execute at a high level. I mean, just watching that game unfold, you could see how Georgia dominates. And Georgia really should not have to break a sweat again the rest of this year. I know they got to go to Lexington and play Kentucky, but road game in Starkville next week. You'll get the cowbells out. And oh, by the way, Mississippi State laid such an egg this week against Auburn. It was my best bet, so I'm allowed to be a little bit sour about it. But I bet on Mississippi State, expecting them to expecting them to do what they did in the second half. They did in the first half. They go up 24-6 in the first half. It looked like they were going to cruise to a victory. Then they just kind of stopped playing football. But that's neither here nor there. Back to Georgia because it's more fun to talk about them. So Georgia's going to have the easiest path right through. The one question left to figure out about Georgia is who are they going to face in the SEC title game after Alabama, who, God, they make a ton of mistakes. Alabama makes so many mistakes. It is unreal. I've never seen it from a Saban coach team. I really never have. I never have. But LSU looks to be in the driver's seat for a date with Georgia in the SEC title game. LSU has head-to-head tiebreakers over Ole Miss and Alabama. Ole Miss and Alabama are going to knock each other out of this whole thing because they're going to play each other this week. But really, the only hope that either Ole Miss or Alabama has um, is probably Texas A&M because I think they have the better defense. Now, the two road games left for LSU are Arkansas and A&M. They play UAB. That doesn't count. Um, do I think LSU could lose either one of those games? Yeah. And I think the line opened up at LSU -2 this week against Arkansas. Oh, -3. Okay. Yeah. So it's already moving in favor of LSU. But yeah, I mean that's LSU, Georgia in the SEC title game. It'll be more of the same. Jaden Daniels will be in for a rude awakening. He's not going to know what hit him. If Hendon Hooker got beat up like that, imagine what's going to happen to Jaden Daniels. It's not even going to be close. So it was very much a sort of pre-coronation for Georgia this weekend. The way that they handled um, Tennessee. There were a lot of sharp people out there who saw that game script unfolding, and Georgia once again proves that they have the horses other teams don't. Although part of me is really curious. I would love to see Georgia play Alabama this year. I know it's easy to say that Georgia would crush them, but again, it's one of those deals where uh, I genuinely believe that game would be closer than people give it credit for, just because Saban knows how to coach. But again, his players make so many mistakes. It's unreal how many bad mistakes his team makes. Never seen anything like it from a Saban coach team at all. At all. It really, really is very much a situation where um, you know the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm not going to write their demise, but I will turn around and say that they are uncharacteristically undisciplined, which is what you don't expect from a Nick Saban type team. All right, we have some NFL news and notes to get to as well, and the Hawks. They are also in a big game tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll see how that game goes. We got a lot of interesting things that happened in the NFL this Sunday, and we are going to discuss all of that here in just a moment. But first, a word from my friends, your friends at Locked On Sports today. Locked On Falcons is a great show. You guys hear me say it all the time, and we appreciate you guys making Locked On Falcons with Aaron Freeman your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out that Locked On Sports Today podcast. It's the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.